going to be reading The Iron Man, and this is Chapter 2, Part 2. Do read along if you have the book. If not, try to imagine the scene before you. But next morning, all the farmers were shouting with anger. Where were their tractors, their earth diggers, their ploughs, their harrows? From every farm in the region, all the steel and iron farm machinery had gone. Where to? Who had stolen it all? There was a clue. Here and there lay half a wheel, or half an axle, or half a mudguard, carved with giant tooth marks where it had been bitten off. How had it been bitten off? Steel bitten off? What had happened? There was another clue. From farm to farm over the soft soil of the fields went giant footprints, each one the size of a single bed. The farmers, in a frightened, silent, amazed crowd, followed the footprints. At every farm the footprints visited, all the metal machinery had disappeared. Finally, the footprints led back to the top of the cliff, where the little boy had seen the Iron Man appear the night before when he was fishing. The footprints led right to the cliff top, and all the way down the cliff were torn marks on the rocks, where a huge iron body had slid down. Below, the tide was in. The grey, empty, moving tide. The Iron Man had gone back into the sea. So the furious farmers began to shout. The Iron Man had stolen all their machinery. Had he eaten it? Anyway, he had taken it. It had gone. So what if he came again? What would he take next time? Cows? Houses? People? They would have to do something. They couldn't call the police or the army because nobody would believe them about this iron monster. They would do something for themselves. So what did they do? At the bottom of the hill, below where the Iron Man had come over the higher cliff, they dug a deep, enormous hole. A hole wider than a house and as deep as 3 trees, one on top of the other. It was a colossal hole, a stupendous hole, and the sides of it were sheer as walls. They pushed all the earth off to one side. They covered the hole with branches, and the branches they covered with straw, and the straw with soil, so that when they finished, the hole looked like a freshly ploughed field. Now, on the side of the hole opposite the large slope up to the top of the cliff, they put an old rusty lorry. That was the bait. Now they reckoned the Iron Man would come over the top of the cliff out of the sea, and he'd see the lorry which was painted red, and he'd come down to get it, to chew it up and eat it. But on his way to the lorry, he'd be crossing the hole, and the moment he stepped with his great weight onto that soil held up only with straw and branches, he would crash through into the hole and would never get out. They'd find him there, in the hole. Then they'd bring a few bulldozers and earth movers that he hadn't already eaten, and they'd push the pile of earth in on top of him and bury him forever in the hole. They were certain now that they'd get him. Next morning, in great excitement, all the farmers gathered together to go along to examine their trap. They came carefully closer, expecting to see his hands tearing at the edge of the pit. They came carefully closer. The red lorry stood just as they had left it. The soil lay just as they had left it, undisturbed. Everything was just as they had left it. The Iron Man had not come. Nor did he come that day. Next morning, all the farmers came again. Still, everything lay just as they had left it. And so it went on, day after day. Still the Iron Man never came. Now the farmers began to wonder if he would ever come again. They began to wonder if he had ever come at all. They began to make up explanations of what had happened to their machinery. Nobody likes to believe in an iron monster that eats tractors and cars. Soon, the farmer who owned the red lorry they were using as bait decided that he needed it, and he took it away. So there lay the beautiful deep trap without any bait. Grass began to grow on the loose soil. The farmers talked of filling the hole in. After all, you can't leave a giant pit like that. Somebody might fall in. Some stranger coming along might just walk over it and fall in. But they didn't want to fill it in. It had been such hard work digging it. Besides, they all had a sneaking fear that the Iron Man might come again, and that the hole was their only weapon against him. At last they put up a little notice. "Danger! Keep off!" to warn people away. And they left it at that.